Hi, everybody. Welcome to the PerformHappy Podcast. I'm so excited to talk to a former D1 gymnast who was an incredible athlete, an incredible scholar who has gone out into the world, into her life beyond gymnastics, which unfortunately all of us gymnasts do have to find at some point. But Sam Cerio was an Auburn graduate in 2019 who got a lot of media attention for how her career ended with an injury, but has just gone on to have this incredible career. And Sam, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you.
Hi, thank you. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah. So, I mean, a D1 gymnastics career is exceptional. But then on top of that, you were able to accomplish a degree in aerospace engineering. And I know it's hard enough to balance, any major with D1 collegiate athletics. But I'm curious, did anybody ever tell you, oh, no, you can't have that major and do gymnastics? That's just too much. Did anyone ever try to convince you otherwise?
Yeah, I had a couple of people. Most of them were before I was going into college. It was more of when I was looking at what I wanted to do later in life. Um, and luckily, I had a couple of family members that were like, "Oh, being an engineer, that's a man's job. You shouldn't have to worry about that." And then I had a couple of other people that were like, "That's so hard. Like, there's no way that you make it. There's no way that you can balance that time because it just asks so much of you." Because they were engineers as well, so no, they already knew going in how much effort and work it takes to put in to get that degree. They're like, there's absolutely no way you'd be able to do it as well as being a student athlete.
Yeah, so
So
that makes my blood boil. As a woman, I'm like, tell me I can't because I'm a woman, and then watch out. Like
mhm.
the doors will start flying open and I will start charging. Like, did that give you any extra motivation? Did it make you second guess yourself? What effect did that have on you?
It definitely most of the time when people are telling me no, especially when it's a goal that I want to achieve or it's something that I know will help set me up better in life, it's something where I'm like, okay, well now I definitely want to do it. Like this is what I want to do. I want to be able to prove to you that I can do it. Not only prove to that person telling me that I can't, but prove to myself being like, this is the kind of idea that I wanted to do. This was the goal that I set for myself. Now I have to do it. Now I'm going to do it. And it's something that does help motivate me, whether it's positive or negative. And it's not like it was in any ill will kind of way. It was just one of those things that helped keep me motivated and just at least at the beginning. And then everything through that was just through the support of my other friends and family who were pushing me and telling me I could do it.
Yeah, I'm like laughing over here thinking about how my dad was like, "Don't get a puppy. You have too much on your plate." So what's gonna happen? I go get a puppy. Like it's like the way it works. Now, were you always kind of a stubborn child? No, we can say stubborn, we can say determined. It's sort of like a fine line. Was
Yeah.
that how you always were, or is that something that emerged over time, that determination in you?
No, I've always been super persistent. I've always been very determined. My dad likes to say I was always stubborn as a kid, to kind of going out and knowing if there was something I wanted to achieve, I was going to do it. Whether it was a small achievement of like, oh, I kind of really want that cookie that's right there, but I can't reach it, and trying to get it or like, oh, well, you're challenging me to do this. For example, like make it to regionals when I was like a level 8, that was the end goal. And it was like, okay, well, I need to work towards this. And ending up being able to achieve it is just something it's way better than winning medals. It's proving to yourself that you can actually do these goals that you're setting forth for yourself.
Yes. I mean, that's the best is when you have something just slightly out of your current reach. You're like, if I give it everything I got, I could do this. And then
Mhm.
you go after it. But then there's curveballs, right? Like it's not always so straight. Did you just have like, okay, my determination will carry me to D1 gymnastics and life will be peachy? I mean, did you have any big tests in your gymnastics career pre-college that made you kind of just debate whether you wanted to keep doing it?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I had a couple of knee surgeries before going into college. One of them was when I was, oh my goodness, I'm trying to think. One was when I think it was my freshman year of high school, and then my second one was my junior year of high school. And that definitely really college doing college gymnastics at the beginning was something where my parents and we didn't really have any kind of understanding of what kind of level it took to be able to qualify to be, scouted by all these amazing coaches to be on a team. And so talking about going to college on a scholarship wasn't really a big thing that we really talked about. It wasn't a huge goal. It wasn't something that we knew whether or not it was obtainable. And I mean, that's nothing on us. It was nothing on my coaches. My coaches at the time um, weren't as experienced with dealing with college coaches as well. So it was something that we were all kind of jumping in feet first and learning about along the way. Besides my surgeries, going elite a couple of times. My surgeries ended up being the things that kind of halted that process, and it kind of made me look back and reevaluate whether or not I wanted to continue gymnastics. And I mean, besides that, as like young kids growing up, sometimes, like, especially when I was the lower levels, you get into that headspace sometimes where you're like, this is too hard. I don't like conditioning, and you're like, I don't know if we really want to continue doing this or if we want to push through it. And my parents were always funny because they were like, every time you wanted to quit when you were younger, it was always in the middle of the month. And we always told you we had to wait until the very end of the month so that at least we could pay for tuition for a full month. And then you could quit. And then by the end of the month, you were back to loving it and you didn't want to quit and you wanted to compete.
So you didn't even have college on your radar when you were doing, like, up to what level? At what level did you start to realize, "Oh, I could do this in college?"
Well, so I was level 10 for quite a while. I started at level 10 when I was in 7th grade, I think. And I didn't realize until around the end of my 7th grade year, after that first season had already concluded, through the beginning of when I was in 8th grade, that college was actually a real thing because my coaches had started getting messages and started talking to coaches that were coming up to them interested in me for the
Oh, wow.
school. Um, and it only started out as a couple and, they trickled in. But it wasn't something that really, again, wasn't something we thought was feasible until that started happening. And we were like, oh, wow, this is really cool. So maybe we need to shift gears instead of just going the elite track, also keeping in mind that college is also a very viable option as well. And wanting to keep that in mind, knowing going forward, hey, as we start getting more serious about this, as we start talking to college coaches, thinking about what I want to do after gymnastics is over and what I want to study in school that'll help propel me there. And so that was something I always really love about my parents is they were gym parents, but they were never like true gym parents. They made sure that I was a fully rounded person and just emphasized academics just as much as they did athletics.
Amazing, which you have a much better chance in the United States of getting an academic scholarship than an athletic scholarship. So, when people are like, "We have to get a scholarship," it's like, "Well, go academics and then let
Mhm.
let the athletics be sort of the cherry on top." It's a much it's a much better, much more viable way to get college paid. Fun fact. But of course, when you've got the full package, I'm sure that there were many schools that were interested in you. So how did you end up choosing Auburn?
So we had talked to quite a few schools. I had filled out questionnaires to a couple. It ended up my mom and I actually went and visited 4 different schools while I was being recruited. And they spanned from, let's see, so we were in the South for a few of them, and then we went over out west for one. 1, 2, no, it was for 2 out there too. So it was a good variation of locations, And there was just something about Auburn, and there was something about talking to the coaches, and they were very open, and they were also the presence on campus was just super welcoming. It was really cool to see and really cool to kind of experience just even walking around on campus. I was like, I really enjoy walking a lot of places, and on this campus I can walk just about everywhere I need to go. I wasn't thinking about the southern humidity at the time, but um, but it was just something where it kind of felt like things were really clicking together while I was over there. And then when they had told me about having a spot for me and talking about verbally committing, it was something that really just felt like it had clicked into place.
Wow, that's awesome. Now, so then okay, you're committed and you're finishing high school, you're training long hours, you're getting great grades, it sounds like. What were some of your top time management strategies that really got you through that? And then of course into college where it even like ratcheted up. If there's anyone out there who's like, how am I going to do this? I'm already a level 10 at, 8th grade and I'm drowning in homework. How do I do it in high school and in college? What are your tips?
Some of my tips, I actually lived with my coach when I was in high school, just because we were living a little bit away, and I had homeschooled my first 2 years of high school. Um, and so had learned, hey, I want to go back into public school. It was much better for me, especially since I wasn't going the elite track anymore. It made more sense that I would be able to interact with more people. Um, and so one of the biggest things that helped was I always meal prepped, and my parents helped me meal prep. So I always knew what I was going to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, whether it was the same thing for lunch all the time or the same thing for dinner. It was really nice having that kind of schedule, as well as I was already used to having a pretty rigid schedule of going to school, and then right after school going to practice, and once practice was over, finishing my homework, doing my homework, whatever I needed to do. Um, so there were definitely some nights where I probably didn't get as much sleep as I needed, but it was something that, and it was a benefit of living with my coach, who, I mean, I I loved my coach at the time. She's an amazing person. She was very open, and I could talk to her about if I was feeling a certain way, if I was feeling too tired, if I needed more time doing schoolwork or something like that. She was always there. So I had good open communication with my coach as well.
Mm. Yeah, which is critical regardless of your living situation. I think having that communication of I didn't get enough sleep, so my bar is lower today, or I'm gonna I'm gonna try to balance it all, but I just couldn't get it all totally figured out this week, coach. So, you know, I- we might have to adjust. And is that type of relationship that you had with her where she understood the the whole
Yeah,
human?
she did, and the good thing is there wasn't really a lot of many times where that was happening, you know? It wasn't often, and it wasn't anything where I was trying to slack off, and she knew that too. It was just one of those, "Hey, I'm really worried about this. I know I'm gonna be up late." Um, and sometimes I'd ride home with her after practice, so, like, she'd be still coaching, and I'd be trying to finish homework while she was doing that, you know? Um, but it was really nice because we had a good understanding of what was going on because she's also a mother. So her understanding of knowing, hey, school is super important. Gymnastics is really important too, but school and getting good rest and having good nutrition is going to be that foundation that helps you later in life.
Absolutely. And for confidence, it's those are kind of low-hanging fruit. If you can check those boxes of getting enough sleep, fueling your body properly, it just sets you up for so much more success. So it's great that she was able to help you prioritize that. Even, a few years ago when that wasn't as much in the forefront of a gymnast awareness. So,
Mhm.
okay, so then you go to Auburn, you have this amazing career, and then your regionals of your senior year, you have this, horrible injury. What were your initial thoughts after you injured your legs? And I'm assuming you knew right away that your career was over. It was your potential second to last meet anyway.
Yeah, I think the good thing is a lot of people always ask me about how I felt like my career ending so suddenly. And I was like, it was really It was quite possibly my second to last competition. We were very at the end, and as much as, it's great, and as much as it would have been absolutely amazing competing the next night, it wasn't anything too big to me, especially that's something that doesn't happen very often. When I got hurt, I didn't even realize what had happened, and all of a sudden I was on the ground. Um, so that was something that I think was crazy. I know, one of our assistant coaches, he always stood in that corner, um, and he told me he watched me land and saw my eyes get big and just fall. So it's and at that point, my body was in shock. So I didn't even get to, I didn't really feel anything for the next, 10 to 15 minutes until my body, came back to itself.
Yeah.
Um, so it was a little crazy.
Yeah, a little
Definitely.
crazy. And then, of course, you're about to graduate and you had a wedding 50 days later. And
Mhm.
so, what were people saying, after you go in for surgery and you come out, were they saying like you are not walking at graduation, you will not walk at your wedding? What was kind of the message you were getting from the doctors?
I don't really remember any of them saying that I couldn't do it because those were my 2 goals that I was very adamant about. I was like, "I've been at college for the past 4.5 years. I wanna walk. This is an accomplishment that not many people get to have, and I wanna be able to say that I did it. I wanna be able to walk across the stage, get my diploma, and say, I was able to complete my goal. This is what I set out to do initially when I first started looking at colleges. And now I wanna be able to stand on my own 2 feet and say I did." And then the wedding was the same thing, it was very much so we've been planning this and planning this and planning this, and I wanna be able to walk at that very special moment as well. And that was something that I told my trainer. I was like, I think she said it was one of the first things I told her was, "I wanna be able to walk at graduation, and I wanna be able to walk down the aisle." And she was like, "Okay." Um, and she's like, "We're definitely gonna work on that to get you there." So there wasn't any time where anyone helping me was like, "No, this isn't gonna happen." They're like,
Mm,
"This is what you want, and we're gonna help you get to that goal."
amazing. So they saw the fire in you and they were like, "Okay, let's do it.
Mhm.
Let's go. If you want it, we can take steps in that direction." Metaphorically
Definitely.
speaking. Yeah. So then how did you set your goals? Because I could see how somebody who just has had 2 lower extremity surgeries go, "I got 50 days. This is overwhelming. This feels hard." How did you structure your goal setting that allowed you to not get overwhelmed?
Yeah, so I actually had my graduation in about 30 days after that incident happened. It might have been a little less than 30 days too. So it was one of those things where we're taking the timeline out, and I was just doing rehab. And I was doing rehab every day. They moved me into um the dorms right across the street so that I would have an easier access getting to and from, because I might not have someone helping me while I'm trying to get out of bed, or while I'm trying to, if I have to have someone drive me over to rehab, there might not be someone available. So they were able to move me over to a room since a lot of people were kind of already starting to leave after finals. And so they were like, okay, we're going to try to get people moved out and get you in. So I was able to get moved over there so that I could get over there on my own, which is something that I really enjoyed too, because it gave me that autonomy over my own body to be able to move around as I pleased instead of just being stuck in a location and having to wait for someone to help me. Um, and just yeah, they pushed me really hard during my rehab, and it was really scary the first time. They were like, "Okay, we're gonna stand up now." Um, but it was they pushed me really hard, but they did it in such a good, constructive, and supportive way that it just added to helping me get to my goals.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that because they knew your goals and they knew what had to happen in that timeline that they were like, "Okay, well, this is what we gotta do today if this is gonna happen," and they knew you wanted it and they knew you were willing to do the work, so they pushed.
Mhm.
And and
Definitely.
I think in a great, coachee relationship, everyone's clear on the goals. It's the athlete whose goals are propelling, and then everyone goes, "Okay, if you want this, it's gonna be hard. You ready?" And then you go, "Yep." And there's this consent that then fuels the, "Okay, it's gonna be hard, and I'm willing to get out of my comfort zone. So what do I have to do today, coach?"
Oh, definitely. And I mean, I had not only the coaching staff and all of the physical therapy staff over at Auburn, but like my teammates and my friends, all of my engineering friends, I'd have people that were helping me if they could, if I ever needed it. So that was also really nice to have, being able to be surrounded with a lot of people that are there for you and want to help you succeed.
Yeah. Well, and I imagine you also had a lot of outpouring of support from people you had never even met just because of the nature of it was a regional competition and a lot of eyes were on you. So did that help? Did that make it harder? What was that like having that extra attention?
It was really weird. I'm not usually a person that likes being in the spotlight. I kind of like being off to the side. So it was really interesting. I was getting so many letters from people that were super positive and getting messages from people that were always super positive. And, I mean, sometimes you get negative things, but, the good outweigh the negative by tenfold. And I thought it was really cool being able to see a whole community of people, not just Auburn people, gymnastics people, people that didn't even really weren't gymnastics fans, but they were sports fans or they had heard of what happened, reaching out. And I thought that was just, it's absolutely incredible what writing a letter or messaging someone on social media can do. It was really cool to see, and it definitely was something that helped, while I was while I was still recovering, and helped keep me in a lighter mood knowing that, you have all these people that you don't even know, but they're there supporting you, and they want you to make your goals, and they want you to recover as best you can.
Yeah. Yeah, just more love. I mean, and I'm a believer in like you can just feel the energy of, people behind you supporting you and believing in you. And so, okay, so then you graduate and you are on crutches, on your feet, walking across that stage. What was that like for you?
It was incredible. It was really nice knowing, and it was really humbling to know that not even a month ago, I was on the ground not able to, and it was a really cool experience because as I was walking across the stage, everyone was cheering, and it was such a cool accomplishment to be able to share with my classmates, with my family, and with just everyone else that was around in the Auburn Stadium. Like, it was a really cool experience. It was so similar to just competing on in the Auburn arena as well. Like, it's crazy. Um, and it was just a really immensely large sense of accomplishment because it was something I didn't know if it was gonna happen or not. Because I was like, I had a walker for a little bit, so I would stand around with my walker. That day was I had been standing with my crutches, for a couple different events that we had had throughout the day, but I hadn't really walked very far. Um, but it was just a really it's one of the best experiences in my life because it was, again, one of those things that accumulated from even before I had been recruited to being able to be a student athlete and compete at a university as well as getting just this this amazing degree to the end being able to get my diploma and being able to share it with so many people after what had happened was just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, those moments, those peak life experiences I have found are almost always after a huge hurdle, a huge mountain to climb. That
Mhm.
it's not that you just sort of waltz across the stage and grab the thing and like it's all fine. It's because of the mountain you climbed and because of the pits you fell in and because of the hard things that crossed your path that make that so meaningful. And I know a lot of people, they're afraid of the big challenge. They're afraid of injury. They're afraid of, falling short or not doing, just not completing their goals. But there's this amazing possibility on the other side. I mean, how has that experience changed you as a person?
I'll say it definitely it showed me how much willpower and determination I had in myself. It showed me that the ambitions that I set up for myself and the different goals and accomplishments that I want to go and get, I can do as long as I've always got that kind of eye on the prize and I'm doing the best that I can and working every day towards those goals. As well as knowing that if I ever need it, I know I have an amazing community of people that I can always lean on. Whether and now that community has shifted a little bit, just going into more of a professional setting, but knowing, getting to talk to and interact with people who are there rooting for you as much as you're rooting for them and wanting to propel you past where you'd even thought you'd want to be is something that's absolutely incredible. And it's definitely something that I've taken away from that experience.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. And I think back to interviewing a woman who specializes in helping people overcome injury. And what she recommended as a really big suggestion is that you have a well-rounded life to begin with, that it's not just gymnastics. I am a gymnast, period. Well, I am a gymnast who is studying aerospace engineering, and you are also a friend, and you are also a part of different communities, and you're a volunteer, and you then when something gets kind of taken out from under you, whether it's temporarily or permanently, you still have yourself. And do you feel like that's one of the reasons why you were able to bounce back was because of the way that you had maintained a well-rounded life?
I think that's part of it. Because especially through college, I learned about myself that I don't want to be defined by one thing. Like you said, I'm not just a gymnast. I'm also an engineer, you know. Now I'm a dog mom and you know, I go work out with another group of people. So I'm an athlete in a different way. And but I'm a sports fan too and I love my university. And so I think knowing that you have that as a person, you have so many things that make you up to be you is has been a takeaway that I've been able to bring with me and carry with me, as well as knowing within these things that make me is a community of people that also help make me up to be me. And like I said earlier, it's just people that you can lean on and depend on if you need to. And even if you don't need to, if you don't, or if you don't think you might need it, you know, you always have those people that are in your corner and wanting the best for you, the same as you would want the best for them.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's anyone out there who has done amazing things without anyone in their corner, believing in them, giving them something, some reason to keep going. So that's beautiful. Well, Sam, thank you so much. Before we wrap up, I always like to ask this question. If you could give a little bit of advice to 12-year-old Sam that would allow her path to be a little smoother or a little happier, what's one thing you would recommend to her?
I would recommend being true to yourself and knowing that the goals you set out are obtainable. And it's something that as long as you work towards them every day and you know who you are and you don't let other people make you think that you're one way or another, you can accomplish the things that you set out in life. And I mean, and as long as it's something that makes you happy, that's all that really matters.
Yes. Amazing. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it again, Rebecca. Thank you so much.